Welcome to the Art of Winning technical video series. I'm Sterling Strother, Director of Coaching here at the Art of Winning Global Project. There are two distinct areas of player development: the content and the context. The content is the what and how of developing as a player, the technical. The context is the why, when, and where of development, the mental, emotional, tactical, and strategic. The majority of time, our coaching staff is exploring the relationship between the content and the context of play and how they can merge together to help you increase your win rate 100%. In this video, we are going to focus on the technical side of this equation as I break down how to develop a simple and powerful forehand ground stroke. I want to begin by thanking you for watching, and if you enjoy this video, please feel free to share it with your friends and colleagues. Now, without further delay, let's get started. All right, welcome to the continuation, the Forehand Technical series. This is the figure eight forehand, and I'm working here with a player. And we first thing I'm going to do is we have clay courts, so I'm going to paint a figure eight there on in the dirt. And so the first thing we're going to work on with the figure eight forehand is when we turn, we're going to extend out and trace the back end of the figure eight or the front end, whichever way you're looking. So the idea here is to get the stroke started to the outside, and then the racket comes back to the inside and flips. And then it goes back to the outside and traces the bottom half of the figure eight. So this is the swing path, if you will, that I'm working with Pierce here on. And here's a look from the back. So you can clearly see how he's going to finish over his non-dominant shoulder in the elevated finish position. So right here I'm showing him, look, the palm is down. The palm is down so that the racket will flip. And then as we lift to contact, the palm of the hand goes toward the ball. And then it just sort of flips over, turns over, nice and easy. So from the last video, when I showed how we put the hand on the racket and sort of trace into the point of contact, we're going to do this with the figure eight as well. So just to get the feel of how the hand goes away from the body, comes back in toward the body, and then goes back out toward contact. So we do a lot of shadowing. This is a great way to get a player to feel where their hand is going to the outside, coming back, the palm is down, and then how the palm goes back into contact. But the key here is go out, go in, and then go back out to the ball. So many players tend to pull the hand across in front of their body, and they sort of cut off that extension through the ball. We like to talk about hitting to and through the ball. So here we go. I'm just going to time the hand-fed ball with the take back. So as he takes back, I'm just going to softly toss the ball into the outside of that figure eight position, right in that section right there. And just to let Pierce and the player, your player, if you're working with your player, to get the feel of how the racket goes back out to the ball and then turns over and finishes an elevated finish, which is above the shoulder. So one of the things that, again, I try to emphasize is this idea of a clean point of contact, all right? And you want to accelerate the hand to the outside of the forward eight position. So not to the inside. So again, going to the outside of the figure eight right there. And that I try to get the player to make a swoosh sound, make the racket swoosh right there where I've got the ball. He's trying to swoosh the racket there. That's where the maximum speed of the racket should be, right there. And so the racket head speed is tremendous if you begin to accelerate the hand right out there. And that's where you can create a tremendous amount of racket head speed. So again, I'm just going to work with the player here and they're creating that nice. So now we're going to talk about the non-dominant arm position. We're building a bridge into the turn and then releasing the non-dominant shoulder. And the left, in this case, Pierce is a right-handed player, so the left elbow comes up. Sometimes I talk about elbowing the bully. It's a good phrase to use sometimes if that works for your player. But certainly you want to clear the left side of the body, and it needs to be completely clear at the point of contact. And so that's why I'm trying to get him to feel how the elbow is up in this position and not tucked down or hugging, hug yourself forehand. We don't want that. So just working with him on how the turn happens. So the left shoulder turns, the right shoulder comes through, and you want to try to keep those shoulders level as well. So here's a reverse view of this, and he's just working on this timing, and I just want to show him the form and the function and the structure of how the shoulders are level here once he makes contact with the ball. There, I'm telling him, don't block the left shoulder. Let it release through and come around. And this will also create racket head speed, and it's done in a very efficient manner. Right. There's a slow-mo. Right. I like that. Couple more shadow strokes. I like for the player to shadow and feel that. So we're going to talk about the level shoulders in the elevated finish position. Elevated means over the non-dominant shoulder. So what I'm looking for here is for I can lay my racket there. It's level. The shoulder, elbow, and wrist is all at the same height. And I don't want that elbow to be too high or too low, so it causes the racket to fall back or off. I want his shoulders to be level after contact. I don't want him to be leaning back or bending forward or toward the net, or actually like leaning forward over or back. Obviously, this is my son, so he's used to me manipulating that position. But so now I'm going to get him to just shadow the strokes and see if we can finish and have that racket level across his hitting shoulder, elbow, and wrist. So get him close to that figure eight so he still has an idea of where the racket's going when he turns. Goes out and in and out, and then the finish. All right, so he is elevating through the shot, but I want to make sure that he comes through and finishes in a balanced position. Now, the other thing I'm talking to him about is the position of the left elbow, or the non-dominant elbow. I want that non-dominant elbow to be behind him, right, and not in front. So I'm talking to him about like catching the racket between the thumb and the index finger, and then allowing that hand to come forward. Okay, so I'm going to talk about this. More efficient to keep the hand around the height of your hips in the backswing. So I know we're going through a lot of things in this video, but I just wanted to sort of talk about like how there's different components and going through. So right now I'm saying, look, it's not necessarily a bad thing to go really high with the hand. The only problem is you've got a long way to go to come back to point of contact. So I want him to sort of turn the hand around the pocket, or maybe the hem of the shirt, so he keeps it where it's kind of low and not too high up above his head. So turn, and then that way he comes through to the point of contact much more efficiently. This is on balls that are going to feed right into his strike zone, say between his shoulders and his knees, like right around the hem of the shirt. And so just track that backswing according to the height of the ball. Maybe if the ball is lower, you go a little bit lower with the backswing and sort of track that ball into the point of contact. As I've always said, I always emphasize with my players, the point of contact is the most important part of the ground stroke. And you want to make sure that you're hitting the ball clean. There, I'm just checking that level shoulders again. So now I'm going to emphasize here just being loose with the hand, right? Letting the wrist sort of be loose in this area. So we're just going to do a little exercise where he sort of turns low, and it will just sort of feel that whipping sensation as the racket comes through. He's also working on how his hips sort of rotate in a figure eight fashion. If you can look at the way he hips, the way he turns, his hips are actually moving in the same figure eight motion to get this whipping sensation through. So this is a good view from behind. So I'm talking to him about tracing that figure eight and keeping that motion coming through and out, back out to the ball. So we're just going to work on this again. Lots of shadowing, lots of feel. You know, the ground strokes, even like any stroke in tennis, there's a lot of feel. You want to get a player to feel this. Sometimes we'll do it with our eyes closed. So have the player close their eyes and actually shadow the stroke so they can get in touch with what it feels like instead of what they're maybe looking at. Just going to throw the ball in here low. There's a low feed to help a player with the figure eight motion to get that relaxed stroke through the shot. All right, so I'm going to talk a little bit now about the outside foot, the foot that's closest to the ball, how it pivots through the point of contact so the hips release through the shot. So one of the things you want to think about is watching that outside foot and the toe, and it needs to release. It needs to pivot through at the point of contact. Otherwise, the hip is blocked, the hip that's on the outside. So you want to kind of release, pivot, see how he pivots that right foot or the foot that's closest to the ball. So right now I'm explaining, like, wherever the toe is pointing, that's where the hip is pointing, right? So I put the racket on my hip and I show him, like, if I don't pivot the toe, you see, if I pivot the toe, the hip comes through. But if I turn and don't pivot, the racket stays out. So there I am showing which way the toe controls the hip, okay? So you want to pivot so that the hips rotate through at the point of contact. And this causes a player to be able to hit the ball harder, more efficiently, and using less energy. So that's really what the word efficient means. And so now I'm showing him the balls, like the top ball is his upper body and the bottom ball is his lower body, and they want to synchronize together, right? They want to turn together as they hit the ball. So he's going to pivot that right toe, boom, and release. A little bit of over rotation there. But players will get the feel of this, how they rotate by pivoting. So it starts with the pivot. Always starts with the ground up. And we're looking at a balanced finish. Be careful not to over rotate. So you're just pivoting into the target. Right there. Right there, good. And then a few more shadow strings. And it's looking pretty good. Adjustments to the backswing if the ball bounces high off the ground. So again, like I was telling you before, you want to adjust to the bounce of the ball. So say the ball comes in high and it's going to bounce high. I want him to not necessarily turn his hand around his hips, but to lift the hand up at the height of the ball. So raise the hand to the height of the incoming ball, right? And so that his swing is up. He's going to contact this more up near the shoulder region. So he doesn't want to go down low and then have to come back high. That's inefficient. So everything about the backswing has to be adjusted to the height of the ball. And that way the swing is much more efficient. Swing path stays up, shoulder level with the high point of contact. So I'm going to bounce it high, and he's just going to come through. And you can see the trajectory of the ball changes. It's more of a downward flight or trajectory. So I'm just having shadow rolling. All right, so that's it. That's the video. I hope you enjoyed it today. Hey, thanks for watching this video, and check out the other videos in this series here.